Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Regan Aliyah about Exo Kitty premiering worldwide on Netflix May 18th. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, it's one of those weird things where you go to Korea, you shoot a show, you rap, and you play the waiting game, but the waiting is almost over. Is it starting to hit you that people are going to be able to see Exo Kitty on Netflix?
It's so weird. My tiny piece in this big puzzle, like, I'm just excited for people to see it, excited for their reactions. A lot of people love it. A lot of people worked hard on it. So now that it will be theirs, it's just exciting to see how they're going to take it all in and react to it.
The audition process always interests me because I feel like it's always going to be different. I feel like you're going to show up at an audition once and know everything. And then I feel like you're going to show up to an audition one time and know nothing. And I feel like it's just crazy. Yeah. What was this audition process like? Did you audition for Juliana? What can you tell me about this one specifically?
Yeah, this audition process was one of my favorites. It was so simple and they knew what they wanted, and it was very straight to the point. And I did my audition. I'm from Los Angeles, but I was in Jersey, which I have great luck with Jersey. Every time I book a job, I audition for it, do the self-tape in Jersey. But I did the self-tape. I was about to go to this tattoo convention, and I was like, let me just get this done. It's for this new show, and it seems really cute. Let me just do it before I gotta go. And I was honestly kind of just I'm just gonna do this character kind of how I normally talk day to day, because we have a lot of similarities. And it was a really simple self-tape, sent it off, got a pretty quick response back, and then after that was a little bit of a waiting game of when my next kind of Zoom call back director session was. And then it was you got it, you're gonna go to Korea. I was oh, that quick? I don't have a suitcase. I don't have anything. So it was a pretty fast, simple process. Self-tape, director session, callback, Korea.
That's and then the rest was history, literally. It's interesting because all these characters are complex and have a lot kind of going on, and I feel especially the whole show is Kitty, being kind of thrown in a situation where she goes to the school in Korea and then everything isn't what she seems and all this stuff happens. How would you describe your character? What was something you really liked about your character for Exo Kitty?
I love that she's artistic. I love playing any role that has something to do with the arts. Obviously, I'm in the arts myself. So she's
you're a musician as well, right?
I am. Yeah, I am. So I make music, I act, I love anything having to do with the arts. So she's very artistic. I love the fact that she's very loving, cares about the people she cares about, and really will do anything to make that work, and to make sure that the people that she's with are loved still, and she really tries her hardest. I think that's one of the key things. And I love to one day, hopefully, if there's a season 2, dive deeper into that and her just artistic expression in her clothes, who she is. That's probably my favorite part about her. She's cool. She's a cool girl.
I feel because myself too, being a creative, doing interviews, and I also sometimes dabble in producing shorts and movies and everything. I feel it all stems from we just like to make things. I think it's just as simple as that, right?
Yeah, I feel it's natural to us. Yeah. Everyone makes something somehow, whether people think it's not artistic, there's always a layer of your own being an artist in it, whether you're somebody that's crunching numbers and doing all of this, the way you go about something is the way you make it artistic, whether it comes down to being a chef, whether it comes down to acting, whether it comes down to, drawing, then something I'm doing mixed martial art. You're an artist in your own way, So I definitely agree.
100%. It's interesting as well, too, because I look at a show like this and you're 4 or 5 episodes into the show and there's so many themes right off the bat. There's so many takeaways. There's so many things in this. It's packed, right? The showrunners and creators and writers didn't hold back. There's a lot of important messages in this show. When
Yeah.
you're reading the script, are there some that kind of stand out to you more specifically in terms of takeaways and important messages and themes in Exo Kitty?
Yeah, definitely. I think uh being who you are is like, I think, an overarching one of like, figuring out what you want, who you want, um and how to go about that is like a part of growing up, like love in itself and figuring out how to love, who to love, when to love, loving yourself are all like major themes in this in their own way. And I think that to me is always something that stands out because it's so important to me and my own like life story is coming to terms and figuring out like how how to go about loving myself, others, and doing it in the purest way possible. So that
That's
was definitely one that I was like, oh, love this.
That was so well said. That was so amazing. No, it's so true because I feel like it's interesting when you go and like film it versus like reading the script because I feel like it's so just reading it on paper. There's something about it. And I feel like it hits when you first kind of read the scripts and you're like, wow, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like, I can't, like, what is this going to look like on screen type thing? You know what I mean? They're two different things, right? Like seeing the themes in script and then seeing it on screen.
Yeah, I even feel like seeing it on script, filming it, and then seeing it on screen, they're three different things to me.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting there like what I read is not what I filmed and it's not what I watched, but all of them are like their own journeys that I love. Like, like I'm not in control of editing. I'm not in control of any of those things. And I kind of love the fact that I just have to like not micromanage, not control, like it's not in my hands, so the final product is other people's creative like vision and like their artistic expression, and I love to see that because it's very different than how I'm reading something, how I'm just acting my own scene. That final product is like its own world, and I think it's so cool. Like those three worlds are dope.
It's amazing. No, it's so true. They're three. It's like, and I feel like there's a lot of waiting and there's a lot of thinking about what it's gonna look like. And hey, the waiting's almost over. May 18th on Netflix.
It's so close.
Okay. I love when I get to interview people like yourself that are part of these kind of, because I feel like you being cast on Exo Kitty is a very unique situation from a storyteller perspective, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like there's familiar territory and unfamiliar territory anytime they spin off something or something from an existing universe, right, with past source material. So there's familiar territory for you because of the fact that people like To All the Boys movies, we know some of the characters, we know the universe, right? That's cool. But then you look at the other side of things, we don't know like much about the people that went to the boarding school that like Kitty's going to. We don't know about that. So it's one of those funny kind of interesting situations where Regan Aliyah like knows what's going on, but at the same time has no idea what's going on. Do you think about that at all?
You have the base, but then like the toppings on it are just something new, something different. And you have a lot to choose from. You have a lot to like be like, I like this part, I don't like this part. This one is my favorite, this one's not. It's just an interesting experience overall. I think it's pretty cool, like to already kind of come into something that has this pre-existing fan base.
Yes.
That like they already have invested interest into the story kind of as a whole.
Yep.
And Kitty and like, Kitty's parents and like, just her journey. So it's like, okay, you love Kitty, so this is now Kitty's world that you get to see. And we're all a part of that. And I hope that they love us just as much as they love the original characters and the original storylines and plots. Because I think that they're all different and unique in their own way. And I think they all bring something different, like different messages and meanings.
And we talked before we started. I mean, it's going to drop on Netflix, and it's one of those things too where there's a good chance it might get pretty crazy because it's one of those things where all the episodes kind of drop at once and across all these time zones. It's the Netflix effect, right? So you're gonna wherever you are that day, you're gonna wake up, right, and go to brunch or do your thing, and then there's gonna be so many people that have already watched the whole thing.
Yeah, that's so weird. The weirdest thing, I've been talking about this with like everyone I know, is just like I've been doing entertainment as a whole for a really, really long time. As far as like I've been making music, I've been acting and like trying really hard to make it in those avenues. But being perceived by so many people is so scary. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I like have my social media and different things, but I feel like I'm like so used to those people. I'm like, I know what I'm gonna post, they know what I'm gonna post. We have this relationship, we have this connection. All the rest of these people that are gonna see this the day that it drops at different time zones, different places in the world, I'm like, that's so many people I'm perceived by.
But
I'm
it's the craziest thing because, you know, during the pandemic, our outlet really took off. I've been doing this for like 2015, and it kind of like now it's a full out kind of like media outlet covering a lot of things and everything. But like in 2015, it was just like a side like podcast thing. You know what I mean? And then the pandemic happened, and a show on Netflix dropped called Outer Banks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, it was the craziest thing interviewing, like it came out on the Friday of whatever day it came out. And then I interviewed Drew Starkey, who played Rafe, on the Tuesday. So not even a week. And it was like the biggest thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like
I can only imagine with that show, especially. Like I remember when that dropped too, and everyone's like, "Have you seen this? Did you see this episode yet?" And I'm like, "Oh my god! Like, give me a second." But like, it takes off.
It's gonna take off on May 18th. It's gonna take off. Like it or not, it's gonna take off.
No, like you didn't want it to. It's gonna happen regardless.
No, but it's exciting, and I'm so happy for you and the cast. I mean, it's gonna be overwhelming at times, but it's gonna be a really cool, amazing thing. And it's a cool thing where it's like your art, and then, you know, it's gonna be a little like overwhelming because it's your show, but then on May 18th it's the world show.
Yeah, like you just got to give it up. You got to put your hands up and say it's no longer our little baby. That's other people's. That is theirs to consume, theirs to critique, love, hate. Hopefully they don't hate it. But you know, like everyone has their own perception and opinions on stuff, but it's the world. And that's all you can really do is just like leave it up and say, I did my part. I'm on to the next stuff, and I'm trying to keep it pushing.
Whether we talk about you as kind of an actor, whether we talk to you about like your music, you are a storyteller. Regan Aliyah is a storyteller. What excites you about storytelling? Is it kind of what we just talked about before, just the ability to kind of make things? Like, is that one of the best things, to tell things?
Yeah, I mean, I love the ability to make things. I love that artistic expression, but I think it's also the end is connecting to people. And I think that's what draws people to the art so much, is that I just had this conversation, like music too, like music is everywhere. Music is in television, music is at basketball games, music is in, you know, every avenue we have in the world because people feel connected to it. You know, people sit there rewatching their favorite comfort movies and comfort TV shows because they connected to that story, and that is such an important part. Anything that I make, I'm like, if somebody, one person on this planet connected to it, I did my job, you know, because if that was my experiences and what I went through personally, or this character has like this unique storyline and somebody else says, wow, this is exactly what I'm going through, this helped me, like that is such a like fulfilling feeling. And it's 100%. Like something that you can't get that anywhere. Like that is just like it's unique thing that's just like, so I really do it for that expression of myself, of like having an outlet to push my own feelings, my own experiences, and to connect with other people that relate to that, you know, other people that didn't get to see themselves on screen, other people that, you know, have these stories that they're like, I wish somebody could help me through this. If your TV show or music can, love that. Because I know it does for me.
100%. No, absolutely. And you know, it's crazy because music is medicine. Like it is, you know, I remember, you know, I had a big, like bands like Green Day and Fall Out Boy for me, like, you know, I had a bad day. I pop on my CD player. I'm dating this conversation, by the way, my CD, my Discman. And it was just it made things better. You know what I mean?
And sometimes like it's like those days where I'd be like, oh my god, I'm feeling real sad today, and then I play sad music to make myself sadder. But it's like I had to feel that emotion, and music like aids that emotion for me to get it out there, to feel like I'm actually fully expressing that, to then be able to go through the next phase. And there's other times where I sit here and everyone knows, like I'll turn on the show Atypical and I watch Casey's storyline throughout that whole thing because it makes me like I relate to it so hard, and I'm like, this makes me feel like okay about things that I went through, you know? So it's like, it is medicine, truly.
Totally. Before we wrap up quickly, is there a cool, funny on or offset moment filming Exo Kitty? I know you were all in Korea. I know you also shot during the pandemic, so there wasn't that many kind of opportunities to go like sightseeing or anything. Was there anything on top of your mind that you could share?
Yeah, like we really tried with a lot of things. We always were like protected with like masks and different things, and really respecting like another country's uh guidelines would be the
protocols,
yeah, protocols. But there was still those nights where like we got to like go to each other's rooms and have dinners together and like really like be with one another and just laugh and just talk and like learn about each other a little bit more. And then there was times that we were like kind of off on our own sightseeing and stuff, and my family got to come out there, my mom and my sister, and then my girlfriend got to come out too. And I don't speak nothing but English, and that is a little bit difficult navigating in any country that you don't speak like the native language.
Yep.
But I tried my hardest, and it's like so many people we met there were so sweet and were trying to help me so much. But like sometimes it was a little bit hard to get like taxis and like different things to go to and from. And me and my girlfriend went to an amusement park, and I literally have like this big old like chicken thing on my head, and I'm running around streets trying to find how to get in a taxi with this big like chicken.
You just brought the props.
And everyone's kind of looking at me like I'm insane, and I'm like, where do I go? How do I get this? And I'm looking at the app, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So there was a lot of moments of confusion where I'm like, oh, I look a little out of place.
See, when you're not on a lot of sleep and you do things like that, that's a very dangerous thing to host. Where you just put on a chicken pillow.
I have a chicken head on my head, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm not even connecting with the fact that people could be looking at me like, is she okay? And I'm like, it's so cute. How is it anime? And it's so adorable. But there's a lot of moments where I was lost and confused. And that's happened to me in a lot of countries. I've gotten lost and confused in London, where I was like, and I could have asked for help in London, but I just was lost and confused. And those make the best stories.
There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and in Exo Kitty, dropping May 18th worldwide on Netflix. See what I did there? Regan, so fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Absolutely anytime.
Your Instagram account, is it just your name, or if they just put your name in, is it?
Just Regan Aliyah. That's it.
Awesome. No, that's amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes, you're going to be, of course, to catch Regan Aliyah in Exo Kitty, dropping May 18th worldwide on Netflix. Until next time, it's Regan and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.